Love finances, the other F word, and want to support the show? Become a patron by going to patreon.com/FTOFW. You'll get special features, a shout out on the air, and early releases. Or if you prefer, pick up some merchandise at financestheotherfword.com.
As fantastic a CFP as Mel O is, as wonderful an attorney as I am, and as good as Stormy is at whatever it is he does, please do note that anything said in our podcasts are our opinions alone and are not meant to be taken as financial or legal advice.
Welcome to Finances, the Other F Word, a Gen Xer podcast for musicians and music lovers, where we discuss money and music without all the pretentious bullshit. Here are your hosts, Zoe Terry, attorney at large, Stormy Andrews, founder of Yokel Local Marketing, and Mel O, certified financial planner and author of Finances, the Other F Word. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey guys, welcome to Finances, the Other F Word, and today we are rounding out our series, our series on the economics of discrimination. We talked about redlining, we talked about the judicial system, and we talked about reparations, and now we're going to talk about fun stuff, thus being protest songs, and I'm going to kick it over to Stormy, who's going to welcome a new country and give us an update. How's your book doing, Stormy?
Wow, wait, we got a new country? You guys didn't tell me about that. I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to take a wild guess. Finland. Did we get Finland?
We fucking got fucking Finland. Yes, you're crazy Finland. That you got that. That's amazing.
That's crazy. We got Finland. I'm a good guesser. I'll tell you.
You are.
So, Finland, welcome. Welcome to the show. We're glad to have you there along with all the other countries we've gotten. And about my book, The World's Best Buyer Persona System, it's still kicking butt. So the problem that they're running into now just takes a little bit longer to get because apparently my book publisher didn't think I was going to sell as many as I did. So I'll teach them a lesson.
Yeah.
Cool.
Fuck those guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so Stormy, the second part of what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to kick it over to Zoe.
Oh,
we literally just.
He's new to this podcast.
I'm muted. Yeah, there we go. There it is.
You guys, for your listeners. So, wait a minute. No. For the listeners, I'm keeping this in, by the way. And I was sitting there for a minute looking at Stormy, waiting for him to come up with some Stormy-ish kind of transition. And I was like, this motherfucker ain't going to say anything. He's just going to sit there and be quiet.
No.
And so I had, before the podcast starts, you guys, we like meet as a team and we're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how who's going to talk first and who's going to say what. And it's like, everybody understands. Yes. And then it's like, go time. And then Stormy's like, my book is doing great. Back to you, Mel. I'm like,
Thanks.
so, Stormy, would you like to kick it over to Zoe?
Okay, I just wanted to see if you two were paying attention, and apparently you are. So, with that being said, Zoe, why don't you take it away?
Thank you very much, Stormy, for your ongoing professionalism. You could teach us all a thing or two about podcasts.
Always.
Etiquette. Anyway, so I'm going to talk a little bit about protest music. I'm going to talk firstly about the history. What the fudging hell was that?
What was that, Stormy?
Yes? I don't know.
Wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
I don't have those sounds.
Okay. Oh, I don't have those sounds. Okay. All right. Well, okay. So there's some kind of gremlins going on.
Okay.
So back to me, if we would.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to talk a bit about protest, so the history of protest songs. I'm going to mention some songs that you may not necessarily know are actually protest songs, because I was a bit surprised. And then talk about some well-known protest songs. And then Mel O is going to talk a little about Rage Against the Machine and Enemy. And no doubt Stormy will chip in with some highly relevant comments as we go along. What on earth? Is it just me, or can we hear a little blum, blum,
No,
blum?
Yeah, I'm hearing it.
Yeah, my computer's muted, so it's not coming from my computer, so I don't know. I don't know what the deal is, but I don't know.
When it doesn't, though, your phone lights up.
Well, that's because I'm a fucking beacon of happiness and positivity, motherfucker. That's why it's bleeping up.
Sounds like
Ain't that the truth? ain't that the truth?
And now back to Zoe.
Right, then. Yes, thank you. So when I was trying to do some research on protest music, I had a bit of trouble finding anything. And I stumbled upon what appears to be maybe a dissertation or some kind of paper anyway, rather than an article, by someone by the name of Sumangala Damodaran. And it's, as usual, we'll give you all the links so you can read it fully, because I'm only just going to mention a few snippets from this piece of work. But it's from 2016, and this writer says that music has not been given a fair hearing in the social sciences, and very little investigation has been done into the relationship between music and culture or society as a whole, let alone the relationship between music and politics. And so that's probably why there really isn't that much, or that I could find, about protest music and its history, although I have some, so bear with me. So Sumangala writes in this thesis, or whatever it is. It's from an Oxford Research Encyclopedia of Politics, so it's all a little bit over my head, I have to be honest. So I've just picked out some little snippets that I could handle. And they explain that protest music encompasses the use of music in politics and as politics. And they point out that every period of social upheaval gives birth to songs of discontent, which is pretty much what protest songs are. And they go into quite a lot of detail about that, and I'm not going to, go into it too much. But in the broadest sense, they say protest music expresses discontent with perceived problems in society, and can cover a wide variety of issues and concerns, ranging from personal and interpersonal to local and global matters. And then they say that the genre can be split into two different kinds: magnetic and rhetorical protest songs, with magnetic songs being simple melodies and lyrics that can easily catch the attention of listeners and convey a direct political message. And then rhetorical protest songs describe songs that are less direct and point to some specific problem and appeal to the audience in emotional terms. And then in terms of the history of protest songs, this author discusses songs in India in the 1930s and 40s. So we're going to go talk about America specifically in a minute, but I wanted to give it a kind of wider context too. Like I said, this author talks about protest songs in India, China as they were building up to the revolution, in South Africa, around the anti-apartheid movement, just trying to not limit it to just American music, just how music in general can play and has played somewhat of a part in all kinds of social and political upheaval over many, many years, not just now. Also, following the Russian Revolution as well, there were lots of, that was another way that protesters.
I protest like the Beastie Boys.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
I already
don't
know where this is
for helping
going.
me out there.
Where is this going,
You
Stormy?
what?
What's that?
I said, go ahead, Stormy. I want to see where this is
Yeah, I
going.
fight for my right.
Yeah.
I fight for my right to do what?
Party.
That's what I'm talking about.
With his clean, deodorized balls.
And Spritzer.
And Spritzer, which he's now showing us on camera, which is important. Ladies, if you need to keep your balls fresh, go ahead and reach out to Stormy.
And we'll get back to Stormy's balls in a minute, but thank you for saving me from my lull there. In terms of protest songs in America, from what I can see, one of the earliest protest songs was Joseph Warren's call to action song, Free America. It's seen as possibly the first protest song to have been sung by American soldiers. And then, of course, there was all the songs in the 60s surrounding Vietnam. And even before music was recordable, there was music was played by the working men and women, but I guess it was more men back then, in times of revolution and protest. But once music was able to be recorded, protest songs developed from simple, easy to learn Civil War era songs to more complex art. And perhaps the most well-known protest song, once, as I said, music became recordable, was Billie Holiday's 1939 song, Strange Fruit. And that's pretty much credited as being the first protest song to take an art form. And I'm going to talk about this again in a minute, but there's an English music critic called Dorian Lynskey, and he wrote a book called 33 Revolutions Per Minute. And it's actually a history of protest songs from Billie Holiday to Green Day. And that, it sounds like a really interesting book, but he's quoted in a couple of these articles. And he said that up until Billie Holiday's song Strange Fruit, protest songs functioned as propaganda, but Strange Fruit proved that they could actually also be art. So as I said, in the 60s and 70s, there was a rise of folk music and lots of music that was anti-Vietnam. Quite famously, Bob Dylan, although he's denied being a writer of protest songs, many of his songs, like Blowing in the Wind and Times They Are Changing, were adopted, whether you liked it or not, as anthems for civil rights and for Vietnam War protesters. Then getting into the 80s and 90s, there were probably fewer protest songs because of the end of the Vietnam War, but due to police brutality and racial issues, NWA's Fuck the Police and Rage Against the Machine brought a new era to the protest song. And like I said, Mel's going to talk more about Rage Against the Machine and Public Enemy later. So another article that I read was actually an interview with the author of that book, 33 Revolutions per Minute, and we'll post a link to that article as well. That the author did in January 2018 about whether the protest song was dead. And he said that he originally thought that the era of protest songs was over, and after the 60s, and somewhat after the boom of them in the 80s and 90s. And he said what made him pessimistic was after the 2008 financial crisis, he felt sure that there would be a whole load more protest music, and there really wasn't much. And he felt, well, if not now, why not now? And he says, looking back, I realized with Brexit and Trump that the aftershocks of that crisis just took a long time to kick in. And starting with Black Lives Matter and then accelerated by Trump, I've seen something on a scale that he didn't expect. So he thinks there has been a new wave of protest songs since Trump took office and since the Black Lives Matter. And he thinks, in his opinion, the figure of the moment in modern day protest songs is Kendrick Lamar. I don't know if either of you have any.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I know who he is. For what that's worth.
Yeah. But according to him, he says protest music really started to change around Black Lives Matter pre-Trump. It seemed to wake up hip-hop and R&B in a way that hadn't happened since the early 90s, with a few kind of little blips here and there. You know, there's often not necessarily protest songs, but songs for relief, you know, aid and things like that. Like after Hurricane Katrina and things like that, there might be a song to raise funds, but that's not so much a protest song. He said there are some artists today that are just intrinsically political, and he cites Chance the Rapper and Solange. Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Solange.
I think it's
anyway,
Solange.
he said
Yeah.
Solange, and he just said that. Yeah, he just thinks that there has been a resurgence, if you will, of protest songs. And he was asked about the successfulness of protest songs and what's the point of them. And he said that the worst argument against protest music is that it's futile. It's hard to find songs, movies, novels, paintings that have led to any policy change, because with few exceptions, that's not what art does. But protest songs make people feel not alone. It unites people. And he also says that for him, it teaches people. And he said he learned a huge amount from Public Enemy. As a white suburban English teenager, that's how he learned about certain issues, was from bands such as Public Enemy. And after the election in 2016, Tribe Called Quest and other inspirational bands like that, just he says that they do have meaning, and he doesn't feel like protest songs are dead and buried, which was his initial feeling when he first began writing his book. So I found that kind of interesting. It sounds like that would be a really interesting book to read. And some other articles that I found, people have said that protest music just seems to be a more palatable way to make political opinions, to throw political opinions out there. Do you know what I mean? So
right.
That's another reason. And again, another article pointing to Kendrick Lamar as being one of the protest songwriters of our day and age, as well as Childish Gambino, which is my ringtone. So there you go.
I've got a protest song.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
She says it so dismissively. Uh-huh.
Oh. Yeah. Carry on. I'm reading.
you know
Tell me what it is.
No, you are the audience about my protest song. Okay? I'm done. I've made up my mind after getting dismissed.
Oh, I wasn't being dismissive. I was just realizing that I'm backtracking a bit in some of my
She was just being
my
British.
writing, but
sometimes they sound like they're being
I was being
dismissive
polite.
without being dismissive.
Yeah, but I'm saying it in a nice way. So you carry on, but quietly in the corner.
So quietly in the corner. Wow.
Because Mummy's talking right now. Okay. And I kind of missed a bit here about the early protest songs about being related to labor issues, and two of America's great protest songwriters being Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie. back in the 1940s. And apparently Guthrie had written on his guitar, "This machine kills fascists." And Pete Seeger wrote the famous song "We Shall Overcome," and civil rights songs flowed around the same time from Billie Holiday, which we already mentioned, "Strange Fruit," Nina Simone's "Mississippi Goddam," James Brown, "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud." They all were in the later years surrounded by, to do with racism and the like. And social justice music, as I said earlier, seemed to fade in the 60s somewhat, but was reunited in the 70s with songs like Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On."
Wait. What's going on? What was Marvin Gaye protesting on? What's going on?
Everything, dude.
Oh, really? I like that song. I didn't know it was a protest song. I thought it was a lovemaking song.
No.
Yeah, think of the words. We don't need to escalate, you see. War is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to listen to the words?
You are. And I think, isn't it something about the environment in there too, Zoe?
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty much.
Nothing's more sexier than
song's
saving the
all about.
environment. Gets me off. So, I mean, I guess it could be used for lovemaking.
I'm sure it could. Now, I'm gonna read you the best protest songs in history, 10 timeless political anthems. I'm going to mention those, and then I'm going to go through a bunch of songs that I found or I knew of that don't come to your mind necessarily as being protest songs, but actually are. And then we'll talk some more about the most famous political protest songs. So according to this, the best protest songs in history, the top 10 are, like we said, Billie Holiday's "Strange Fruit," and that's from 1939. And it was actually originally written as a poem, but then made into a song by Billie Holiday, and it's regarding the brutality of racism in the United States. That's 1939. It could stand now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing seems to have changed. Then the next one in the top 10 of timeless political anthems is Woody Guthrie. We just mentioned him. "This Land Is Your Land." That's from 1944. Bob Dylan's "Masters of War" from 1963, when he was just 21. He mentioned it. He said that it was supposed to be a pacifistic song against war. The next one is James Brown, "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud" from 1968. And that was the first song in which James Brown actually made an overt statement on civil rights. Next one is Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, "Ohio" from 1970. And that was... Where'd the Young come from? I thought it was just Crosby, Stills, and Nash. They kicked Young out the group?
Yeah, Young left the group, and that's why it became Crosby, Stills, and Nash. But it originally, I can't remember if they launched with all four of them or if he came on for a short stint. But yeah, there's Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, and then Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Did Young ever do it? Was that Neil Young?
Yeah, Neil Young. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so he did something with himself.
Yeah, I mean, you might have heard of him.
Yeah, just for a short period.
Yeah, from that one very specific thing. Who actually, Neil Young just topped the charts again in this decade. There was a music news on it in an article that Zoe posted. Very interesting.
Interesting.
So
okay.
he was still with Crosby, Stills and Nash in 1970. And the song "Ohio" was to do with the Ohio National Guard opening fire on students who were protesting the Vietnam War at Kent State University in 1970. So that's what that was all about. The next in their top 10 was Robert Wyatt's "Shipbuilding." I love that song, from 1982, Elvis Costello. and sang it. And I think it's to do with, I presume it's to do with the closure of shipyards, right? But anyway, it doesn't really say in what he had in mind. But anyway, oh no, the person who wrote it later suggested that the song could be read as the way the conservative establishment glorifies the working class as our boys whenever they want to put them in uniform. So I think it actually had more to do with war. But either way, the next on the list was the Specials, Free Nelson Mandela, back in 1984. Remember that?
Not at all.
No?
No, I honestly
maybe
don't.
we only had that in England. Free Nelson Mandela. No, you didn't have that song?
Stormy?
Okay. Well,
I'm looking at you, Stormy.
Yeah.
I don't know what she's talking about.
maybe you didn't have it.
Oh, yeah.
It was. No, you don't remember Free Nelson Mandela?
It's not
Okay,
a love-making song. Jesus.
It's not a love-making song. Well, I
Unless you named your penis Nelson Mandela, then it would make sense.
but it says
Well,
it
you
was
remember, I
something that-
didn't listen to the lyrics, but when she said, Free Nelson Mandela, I'm getting my groove.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. Oh, God.
So
Nobody needs to see what we've just seen.
I would say for our listeners, Stormy just gave us a little view of what I'm assuming would be his lovemaking style, and it's a little bit of a cross between Stevie Wonder at the keyboard and Axl Rose dancing. So if you can picture those two things together, that's what we just witnessed. Very enlightening.
That's how I roll.
Okay. Well, obviously that song was about releasing Nelson Mandela. It reached number 6 in the UK charts and was apparently, according to this, was popular elsewhere in the world, everywhere elsewhere in the world, including South Africa, but apparently not in the States. Were you not bothered about Nelson Mandela being, imprisoned for more than 20 years?
Americans, we just assume that if it doesn't happen in our country, then it's probably not super relevant.
we're not
It's
bothered.
the truth. It's the truth. I love my
Yeah.
country, but let's keep it real, But I mean,
Anyway, it was a good
I
song,
felt
so-
bad. Yeah, I felt bad he was in jail. I mean, absolutely. I wasn't going to go to Africa in March. Plus, I was in elementary school, so also I couldn't do that. I get a pass.
Well, anyway, it is a good song. Put it on the Spotify playlist.
Yeah, I will.
And he was released finally in 1990, so don't feel bad. And then also on the list is Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA from 1984, which cracks me up because so many people think it's like this, fist pumping, USA is everything.
So not.
When actually it's about Vietnam veterans being treated so poorly when they come back
Yeah.
from the war. Right?
I remember my mother and father had the tape of Born in the USA, and I liked Bruce Springsteen's butt on it. And I remember this was back in the day when you had the cassettes and they folded out with the lyrics. And I was reading the lyrics and I was like, oh, this doesn't sound like a very positive, something sent to a foreign land to go and kill a yellow man. And he says some other stuff. And I'm just like, oh, okay, well, this doesn't sound quite as happy anymore once you listen to the lyrics,
But these certain people who don't, they just listen to the chorus and make it mean what they want it to mean, right? So I'm going to mention a few songs that I didn't necessarily realize were protest songs and see if you two did. But this one came on my Spotify playlist the other day and I was singing along to it in the shower. But I don't know if this was, which is not a nice sight for either of you to think about either, but I don't know if he was big over here. Labby Sifri, Something Inside So Strong. Do you remember that? Or was he just in England?
Did you say Siegfried and Roy?
Yeah, Labby Siegfried and Roy. That's the one.
Okay. And did you say the name of the song was Something Inside
Something
Is So Strong?
Inside So Strong.
Oh, I hear that all the time.
Yeah? Or
With his-
fuck you. Okay. Well, I like it. And well, you can kind of tell from the words that it is a protest song, but it was actually about apartheid. So it's a good song too, to put it on the Spotify playlist, if you would. Now, I didn't realize that. Now, again, this is a British band, so I don't know if you had this over here, but the Specials' Ghost Town from 1981 was a reaction to the riot.
Seriously, I know Ghost Town. I like
Town is nothing but a ghost town. Yeah.
Town.
Do you
like
really
that
or
song.
not?
It's on my playlist. Look, I kid you not. It's on my
He's
playlist
so
on
full of
Spotify.
shit.
I
You
just
better
like it.
fucking show me, Stormy. I'm calling bullshit.
Look, I'm telling you right now. Look, if I go to, I've got it on a couple of playlists. I kid you not. I have.
You like a bit of ska? Do you like a bit of ska?
Because it's like nothing like a ghost town. You know, nothing like it. And there's a deep voice that kicks in.
Yes.
Nothing like a ghost town.
Oh, he does
Yeah.
know it. I think he does know it.
Oh, okay.
I do.
All right. Well, if
It's got
Zoe,
it's got a cool little winding sound to it.
See, this is the trouble with the boy who cried wolf, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, you don't have to show me your playlist because Zoe's giving you the stamp of approval that you know the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a reaction to the riots in Britain, in the inner cities in the early 80s. So
Are you sure it
that's
wasn't
what that
made
was
to?
about.
Are you sure it wasn't created to have sex to make love to? Are you sure that's not a making love song?
I'm sure Stormy would make it one,
Right.
but I don't know how.
Oh,
the
let's
thought of
not
it
ask.
is again,
Yeah, let's not ask.
no, it's making me feel a bit
Well, you know,
vomitous.
Because of my time here at Coronavirus, there's a Michael Jackson song, which is my love song of today.
What is it?
Beat it!
I swear, in my head, I'm going through every Michael Jackson song, and I'm like, how is he
Yeah.
going to make? And at no point did I go, oh, beat it. That seems. I'm like, where does he touch himself? And does he say something about touching himself? And no, yeah, there you go. Beats
Oh,
it.
you go.
I can never get enough
Should've got
penis
that.
How did we
jokes.
not get that?
I don't know. We're fucking slipping.
Okay.
Long time in quarantine.
Okay. So moving on. No Doubt, Just a Girl
Yeah.
was about sexism. You knew that?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that was about sexism.
Yeah. Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Two Tribes from 1984 was about nuclear war.
Yeah. Zoe and I love that song.
Yeah, love Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Sex Pistols, God Save the Queen. That was in reaction. It was her 25th Jubilee, 25th year on the throne, and there was all kinds of strikes and cutbacks, and Britain was going through a depression, and that. So it was very tongue in cheek. God Save the Queen. So that's that. Oh God, I have plenty more. I Am What I Am by Gloria Gaynor was a shout out to the LGBTQ community. U2 Sunday Bloody Sunday was, most people probably know that, but about the troubles in Ireland, and in particular Bloody Sunday, where the British Army opened fire on civil rights protesters in Ireland, and there were 13 deaths. Bruce Hornby, The Way It Is. You know, that was about American civil rights.
Oh yeah, the song is depressing as hell. It's a depressing song.
Right. Midnight Oil, Beds Are Burning. That's about, in Australia, giving Aborigines, returning the land to an Aboriginal group called the Pintupis. Fortunate Son, Creedence Clearwater Revival. That's to do with, that's kind of like a war protest type song.
Yeah, didn't it have to do with the draft or something?
Yes, yeah, I think that was right. Madness, Ghost Train was about apartheid in South Africa. The Killers, Land of the Free, they did that song after the mass shooting here in Las Vegas, and about gun control. The Cranberries, Zombie, that was written about an IRA bombing in 1993 and the troubles in Ireland. Queen, I Want to Break Free, was all about emancipation. And I don't know if you had the video. Do you remember the video where they were all dressed up in women's clothes?
Mm-hmm. In the house.
Yeah, doing housework. And there's Freddie Mercury vacuuming, all dressed up. And then Rock the Casbah by The Clash was about Iran's ban on Western music. So, I mean, some of them are kind of a bit more obvious when you listen to the lyrics, but there were some that aren't necessarily known as protest songs. So do you want to talk about Public Enemy and or do you want me to just go through my last little list of protest songs that are more widely known?
Yeah, go through your little list, because I literally don't have that much on Public Enemy and Rage Against the Machine. So just finish out what you got to finish out.
Okay, so more well-known protest songs are NWA, Fuck the Police. That was in response to racial profiling. We already mentioned Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA, is actually about Vietnam vets returning from the war and just the futility of war. Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit, I think I mentioned that several times, but I didn't actually say that it was about lynching. Public Enemy's Fight the Power, you're going to talk about that. Bob Marley, Get Up, Stand Up. Bob Dylan, we've mentioned a few of his. Stevie Wonder, Living for the City, and Imagine, John Lennon. And more recent ones, Alicia Keys, Perfect Way to Die, Her, I Can't Breathe, LL Cool J, Untitled Freestyle, and I don't know these last two, but Dua Saleh has a song called Bodycast, and PJ X Dix, BLM. But there's a lot of rap music that I not really my genre, but like I said earlier, Kendrick Lamar and various others are kind of seen as some of the top protest song writers of the day, with many more coming.
You know, where you were, was that all of it, Zoe? Okay. So when you were talking, I was thinking of two songs that always have freaked me out. One of them is this song, and I don't know who it's by, the one that goes, "Stop children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going round," which is about the Vietnam War, like being in the jungle.
Isn't that sure, Riz?
What, babe?
I've got that song too. I've got that song.
Okay, congratulations.
Yeah.
Good for you, Stormy. I don't know what you want me to do. Give you an applause. Awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
Everybody, Stormy is very eclectic in his music. Okay, he wants all to know that, and he has many names for his penis, and he also wants you to know that. And so the Stop Children song has always scared me for some reason, even when I was too young to understand what it was about. And even on the Muppets, which we've talked about on this podcast multiple times, the Muppets did, you know how they have like the people singing or whatever, and then they have the Muppets doing stuff, and they tried to make it funny. But even when I was a little kid, I was terrified listening to it because it's so creepy. It's like, stop, what's that sound? I mean, it's just fucking nuts. And then the song by Red Ryder, which you guys may or may not know, but I don't know, maybe Stormy has this on his phone, Lunatic Fringe by Red Ryder. It's a Lunatic Fringe, I know you're out there. It's a rock song. Whoa.
No.
It's a fucking great song.
I don't have that one.
So you should fucking seriously download it. It's amazing. But the group, if I'm remembering correctly, are all Vietnam veterans. And so they, after they came back from the war, they started a band, and to the best of my knowledge, this was their only big hit. But it has this creepy underlying like insanity, like Lunatic Fringe. We all know you're out there, and it's really fucking creepy. But so I just did some very ancillary kind of research on Rage Against the Machine and Public Enemy, because to be honest with you, I love Rage Against the Machine's music, but I don't go, fuck, I just want to listen to Rage Against the Machine for 8 hours. And I know even less about Public Enemy's music besides the fact that the songs that I know I really like. And so I didn't want to come on here and do some, bullshit deep dive like I really knew the ins and outs of these bands, because if I was a diehard fan of these bands and somebody like me was trying to act like I really knew these bands, I'd be fucking pissed off. So I don't want to disrespect any actual listeners. So I looked at it a couple things. So when I think about, for me, protest bands, I think of Rage Against the Machine and Public Enemy, hands down. It's immediately the first thing. Rage Against the Machine, basically all of their songs are political, and they had a couple songs that are very specific as far as in relation to political things. And one of them, and I'll come back to that, is Bulls on Parade. So you probably know this song, but you actually don't know the actual song. And it's talking about rally around the family with a pocket full of shells. You guys know what I'm talking about? So rally around the family. Yeah. Do you have it on your phone, Stormy? With a pocket full of shells. Song. Yeah, so their lyrics, of course, are very and politically inflammatory. One of them is weapons. One of the lyrics is weapons, not food, not homes, not shoes, not need, just feed the war, cannibal animal. I walk the corner to the rubble that used to be the library, line up to the mined cemetery now. And that one always stuck with me because there's so much stuff going on within those couple lyrics, and the fact that he says that the library was basically unimportant, or the library is destroyed, and then it says line up to the mined cemetery now. I always just thought that imagery was really fucking crazy. And then this song, and this is the part I don't know if I'm going to keep in, you guys, as a side note, this is the Nun. This is the Nun, Zoe. So we'll see if I'm going to keep this in. But one of the other songs that I absolutely love, that you cannot think about any kind of political anything if you don't think of Killing in the Name of. And this song is fucking amazing. Even if you're not into metal, you love it. And to be honest, Rage Against the Machine's not metal. They're more like alternative hard rock.
Alternative.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, like more like alternative rock. But the thing is the most powerful thing in this whole thing that everybody knows is the "Fuck You, I Won't Do What You Tell Me" song. And so they're always like, yeah. They sing that "Fuck You, I Won't Do What You Tell Me" song. And I'm like, that's actually not the name of the song. It's Killing in the Name of. But at the end of it, like 18 times, it's like, and it's a slow build. So for those of you who know the song, in your head, if you're hearing it like I am, it starts with him just talking, "Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me." And then he says it, and then slowly he's like, "Fuck you," and he gets louder, and then all of a sudden the music kicks back, and he starts screaming, "Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me." And it's like the fucking pit just goes crazy, like I'm doing right now that nobody can see, just for myself. And then it's just, you're fucking like bouncing, and it's amazing. But there's some very amazing, like cutting lyrics that are in there that you get lost in because everybody waits for the "fuck you" part. And it's, so some of those, so he says these kind of lines over and over again. Some of those who run forces are the same that burn crosses. And this came out in the early 90s. And then he says, those who died are justified for wearing the badge. They're the chosen whites. And I have had white people get very offended by this song, that have told me that they have been very offended by this song because I guess they really just did not like the fact that Rage Against the Machine busted out, that lyric of the chosen whites. And I mean, but pretty much it's easier to describe what Rage Against the Machine, it's harder to describe what they haven't done that was political, because that was kind of what they based their whole thing on. And then Public Enemy. So for those of you who don't know, if you go to publicenemy.com, they're actually offering you a free track if you give them your email address, and it's called State of the Union, and it is very anti-Trump, to say the least, but it is free for people to download. So if you haven't heard the song, the video's on YouTube, but you can also get it for free if you go to publicenemy.com and put in your email address. And so I was listening to Public Enemy and then Rage, and then Public Enemy and then Rage, but mostly Public Enemy because I'm more familiar with Rage than I thought Public Enemy, which, and it turned out that I was actually more familiar with Public Enemy. But when I was going through, I was just kind of looking. They have a lot of CDs that are very titled, very poignant. You know, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, Fear of a Black Planet. And there's other ones that I can't think of now. And so they are obviously heavy on the political side. But I went through just some of their lyrics, and I found a couple of them that could be really poignant today. So on Bring the Noise, which we've talked about on this podcast before, that Anthrax actually teamed up because Scott Ian, the rhythm guitarist for Anthrax, loves Public Enemy, and Public Enemy originally released Bring the Noise as a rap song, and then Scott Ian approached them, and so then they did Bring the Noise, but they put it with a metal guitar, and it's a fucking fantastic. It's, in my opinion, way better than Walk This Way between Run DMC and Aerosmith. But in the original, it says freeze. 5-0 said freeze, and I got numb. Can I tell him that I never really had a gun? And then on Don't Believe the Hype, which everybody knows, don't believe the hype, right? And of course, if you watch the video, yeah, even Zoe's know it. I'm sorry, Stormy, is that on your playlist? Do you have Don't Believe the Hype?
Of course.
Okay. I don't know if I'm believing your hype, but I'm gonna go with that.
I got Flavor Flav. With Don't Believe the Hype, and he had a chicken restaurant here in Vegas. Come on,
dude. I am gonna fucking now. I've just decided at this moment I'm gonna fucking make it my mission to get Flavor Flav on this podcast. Yes, that'd be fucking.
Yeah, I've seen him riding his bike down the street. He has this bike. If you get him on the show, let's get him on the show, because he was riding this bike near my old office, and I kid you not, this bike, the seat was probably 15 feet in the air. I got to ask him a question about that. Just riding down a neighborhood, I'm like, dude, that's Flavor Flav.
How'd you get on it?
15 feet in the air. I don't know. That's what I want to ask him. Dude, how'd you get on that bike, dude?
Dude, I'm any of our listeners who fucking know a friend of a friend of a friend who knows Flavor Flav, fucking make sure that you call our Google number. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give it to you right now, because if you do, I don't want you to fucking let this slip away, because I'm meaning this shit. Like, I love me some Flavor Flav. 775-537-4352. You fucking let us know. Text us, call us. I don't send it by carrier pigeon. I don't give a shit, but I need some Flavor Flav in my life. I've seen him at so many concerts, and rock concerts, everybody screams Flavor Flav, and he just, throws up the horns and keeps walking, or throws up his hand. But, and Don't Believe the Hype, on the video and all the videos, like, you can see him like doing his Flavor Flav thing, but then he does this like really weird, it's fucking great, this thing. And I told you when I saw Public Enemy and Flavor Flav hit the stage, and all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, like I was all fucking hyped up because Flavor Flav started doing his weird fucking thing, and he still had a clock on that wasn't running still for some fucking reason. Get a battery, and he's like fucking doing his thing, and I'm like, oh shit, Flavor Flav. So anyway, in Don't Believe the Hype, he says, I'm not an addict fiending for static. I see their tape recorder and grab it. No, you can't have it back, silly rabbit. I'm going to my media assassin. And I just thought how fucking poignant that was for today, because of everything that's been going on has been caught on video. And of course, Public Enemy was very, and this is something that I realized about myself as I continue to grow. And I talked about on the last episode about how doing this journey through the economics of discrimination has made me come to terms more with what I was taught as a child about Black people in specific versus the reality of the situation. And as I'm watching, Fight the Power, which of course is one of their most popular songs, and as I'm watching the video, it's very intimidating. And I'm like, why the fuck is it intimidating? It's, Black people marching down the street to protest what they were protesting at the time. And, some of them are dressed as Black Panthers, and that's Public Enemy's thing. And when I saw them live, and they all came out in their fucking suits, and they came out stomping, and they were doing all the military stuff. It was a fucking amazing backdrop. So when Chuck D hit the stage, it was nuts. And then you threw Flavor Flav in there, and then the alcohol really kicked in, and I was fucking enjoying it. I think I fell down, actually. I got white girl wasted, and I think I was rocking out so hard. I did, because I was rocking out so hard. There was a lady in front of me who fell, and I looked at my friend, and I said, what a fucking idiot. She drank too much. Within 10 minutes, I was, oh shit, like Flavor Flav, and I fucking went down, and I fell on my back, and he went to help me up, and I was like, don't help me up. Like, I deserve this. This is fucking karma. Like, I'm good. I can get up. But anyway, and the thing was, I was like, okay, Mel, why is this intimidating to you? in specific? Well, the answer was because it was black people gathering together and protesting. And I thought, well, if it was all white people, it wouldn't be intimidating to you, right? And so it really got me thinking about what programming, and I don't speak for all white people, but what programming, specific me, I'm only going to talk about me, and I know that the conversation is uncomfortable, and I want it to be, because I'm still trying to figure out me as well. What is it in our society that tells us as white people, me in specific, because I don't want everybody to be like, don't speak for me, fucking whatever, okay? The fact that they're intimidated. So like on the Being Black in America episode 139, I specifically said the first time Derek came over to my house that I was like, who is this black guy on my porch? Because this motherfucker's tall and he's big and broad and he's a great guy, fucking wonderful guy. I'm blessed to have him in my life. But on first appearance, I was, first of all, as a single woman, if anybody, dude, comes to your door that size, it's scary. But it was scarier for me because he was black. And I don't like admitting that. That doesn't make me feel good. It makes me think like, what the fuck is wrong with you, Mel? Like, you really? But it's the truth. And I told Derek that off the podcast, and it's not anything that I wouldn't tell anybody to their face, obviously, if I'm putting on the podcast. But watching the Public Enemies, and the whole time I'm loving the music. I'm like, fuck, this is awesome. And I'm sitting there listening to music and I'm feeling it. And I'm going, why is this intimidating? And I have had so many people lately who have approached me and talked about the protesting going on and how scared they are. And but I have to wonder, these are white people who are approaching me. I have to wonder if it was more white people doing the protest. Would you feel as uncomfortable about it? Or would you look at them and going, yeah, they're just exercising their right to protest? And I don't know the answer, but this series for me has been very cleansing. And this is why I pick, and Zoe and Stormy and I pick topics that are hard and that are uncomfortable, because there's a lot of underlying shit here, you guys, that I don't even know how to deal with. And I don't know what that is, but it doesn't make me feel good about me. But that being said, I knew a lot more of their music than I thought, and I absolutely loved them, and I was super hyped, and I'm going to do my best to get Flavor Flav on this show. The last thing is that, you know, they addressed in their music a lot of other things. Like one of the things was Can't Trust It, where they discussed slavery, and then 911 is a joke. 911 is a joke in your town. So they basically at the time were talking about how first responders took longer to respond to issues in black neighborhoods. And so I don't know, what are your feelings on that specifically, Stormy? Because Zoe and I are both white. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, she's British and I'm white.
So there was a lot that you threw at me. What's my opinion on what, 911?
No, just about what do you think?
What's my opinion on getting Flavor Flav on the show?
No, all of that stuff is pretty evident. No, like just the fact that what, you know, I'm really trying to figure out, and obviously I'm not going to solve the problem, but what is it that was it just that I was taught to be fearful of black people because I got that from family, or what?
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. And it happens generationally. And it's one of those things to where, you know, where we are as people, we are, or, you know, my version of reality is my experiences, right? My education and my belief systems. So if you go into what have I been taught? I've been taught, and you know, and some of it just happens because in movies, you know, you think about it, the good guy wears white, the bad guy wears black. Is that, you know, is that part of it? I don't know. I don't understand the psychology of that side of it. I haven't studied it, but I've heard some psychologists talk about it. And they're like, hey, if you look at a lot of those instances, we're taught that, you know, white is good, bad is black. You know, white is positive, black is negative. You know, there's lots of those scenarios. But, you know, we're taught a lot of things as youngsters. As a matter of fact, Trump just did when Kamala Harris was announced as Biden's running mate, right? He put up some tweets, and the tweets were, hey, these guys are anti-law. They want lawlessness happening in your town. So he posted some pictures of criminals, right? Well, all the criminals that he posted, and I think there was like 6, but they were all black dudes. which is the implication that no other race is criminal. So it's one of those things that has just been perpetrated from generation to generation. And I'm really excited what's happening now, because it seems like that the current generation is pushing back. You know what I mean? It's just pushing back like, hey, I'm done with this bullshit. That's some bullshit. I've got some friends, and what you're telling me and maybe what I learned just doesn't jive, because the way we've mixed, the way that the communities and different cultures have been blending, because and I don't think it happens until it is blended. Because if I am a white guy and I'm around white guys my entire life, well, I'm not going to know what it's like to be a black guy. And if I'm a black guy that's been around black people my entire life, I might have a distorted view of white people, and vice versa. So now with this blending of communities, blending of cultures, and I think music has a lot to do with it too, because, you know what I mean, there's been this blending of music that, like when Run DMC, you brought up Run DMC and Aerosmith, right? There was this culture thing like, dude, I'm a brother. I'm not supposed to listen to rock and roll. That's crazy. I got to listen to rap. That's my culture, right? And then you would have white guys saying, dude, rap, I'm supposed to listen to rock and roll. Well, they kind of blended over, at that time frame. And they're the first example that I'm aware of. And it's just getting people used to the culture. So anytime you try and separate, I believe that's a bad thing. It never turns out the way that you expect it to happen. It's getting acclimated and introduced and having other cultures as part of your culture. And then you realize, damn, they're just like me.
Yeah, and I get really, I do, even though it doesn't seem like it, I get nervous when I talk about things like this, because I'm sure that there's listeners out there eventually will listen to it and they'll try to turn it and spin it into some bullshit on me, and it's easier. The thing is that sometimes as a white person, it's easier not to say anything, because when you reach out and you ask, I have one of my black friends, and I asked him a question about the N-word, and it was through text, but he happened to text me right when I was reading an article, and he misconstrued what I was asking him, and we got in this huge thing, and it has put a rift in our relationship. And I called Derek, and literally after that, right after that, and I was like, Derek, I need to run this by you. What did I do wrong? And I read everything to him, and I explained to him what I was trying to do. And he said, Mel, he said, he's just sensitive about it. And he said, he should have given you the benefit of the doubt, because you guys are friends. But it's so sensitive and raw. And so for a white person, for me, from my standpoint, a lot of times it's very uncomfortable to have these conversations, because you are afraid of being perceived as racist or getting the backlash of it. And in actuality, there is a lot of white people that are trying to understand. And I'm glad what you said, Stormy, that this generation coming up, Generation Z, and the very last wave of the millennials, seems to be more open to it, because they're not going to have to relearn everything. They're not going to have to relearn all this stuff. I mean, like I said, if I would have known and understood all of the systemic racism that was built in economics, it would have changed my views throughout my entire life. And I do what I can, but you're right. I mean, it's always going to be a matter of perception. And do you have anything you want to add to that, Zoe?
Just to say that, I mean, I was lucky. I was brought up with parents that taught me to be inclusive and open-minded, and we weren't in any way racist, but I'm sure, have inherent biases that I'm sure I do have them, because based on the media, based on just being white, I'm sure I do. But thankfully, I wasn't brought up with that, with prejudice. I know that certain generations above me in my family are, and I think we have taught them, I think we have helped curb that to some extent. My generation have helped curb that. I don't know that we've changed their opinions, but we know that they certainly won't voice those opinions in front of us. But I think there's certain, because I am white and I've grown up white, I can never know what it's like to be a person of color. And so there are certain things I should never say and would never say. That's about all I can add. At least I didn't grow up having prejudice. So for that, I'm lucky because I was a generation. My dad was, but I wasn't. So, you know, I'm a generation ahead there. Do you know what I mean? In my family.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I think that is going to round out our series.
I have one more thing before you.
Yep.
That song "Stop Hey What's That Sound."
Yeah.
I looked it up. It was written by Stephen Stills. It was performed by Buffalo Springfield in 1966. And whilst everyone thought that it was an anti-war song, it was actually inspired from riots in November 1966 between police and young people on the Sunset Strip in Hollywood, California.
Oh, okay. So it's not
There
about
you go.
Vietnam. Okay. Well, it's still a creepy song regardless. But yeah, I mean, still a protest song, kind of, but not in the manner that we thought. Well, we really appreciate you guys hanging out here for our 4-part series of the economics of discrimination. If you guys have any feedback for us, you can always hit us up at the Google number. You can also always reach us through our social media channels at Finance is the Other F Word. Stormy's book, The World's Best Buyer Persona System, is on Amazon. Make sure that you follow Lily Lou Mittens on Instagram. Please find my book at Finance the Other F Word, Another F Word to Love, also on Amazon. And please rate and review us, you guys, because I see the numbers and I know you're out there, but we have like 7 reviews. And so, I mean, I know it's a pain in your ass. So this is going to be what I'm suggesting. When you go to the bathroom next time, for dudes, when you really have to sit down and do some business, pull out your phone. Give us a quick 5-star review and, or give us whatever review you want to. Hopefully it's 5-star and leave us a review. That would be very, very helpful. It would help us a lot. And other than that, we will catch you in the next episode and we appreciate you tuning in.
And can we give a little shout out to what next week's episode is?
What is?
No.
What is next week?
No.
Isn't it Ghost Story Boy?
Oh, Ghost Story
Boy?
Guys. Yeah. No, you know what? I don't, it probably will be, but I don't know. So we haven't I don't know, maybe I can. Okay. Let me segue that again. Let's see. And we will.
Okay. So let me shut up and you can
No. The only reason why I haven't mentioned it yet is because I didn't know when we were going to put it in the thing. But we could do it next week. And if we air it next week, we can take a break. We can all take a break next week if you guys want to do that. Like instead of recording on Thursday, like we record this Sunday and then we just take a break because that Thursday, that episode will air and then we'll pick it up the following Thursday if that's what you guys want to do.
Yeah, we might be going to take the boys to a cabin for a weekend and leave them there.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'll tease. Okay, are you good with that, Stormy? Would that help you?
I'm good with anything. That's how I roll.
Okay, well then
I got a lot of places to go. I'm just telling you, I got a lot of places to be.
Valid.
Like right now I'm upstairs. Pretty soon I got to be downstairs.
What? It's fucking crazy. Hey, I'm also upstairs and we'll need to be downstairs. Yeah, at some point.
Me too. That's exactly what I'm doing.
It's fucking crazy.
Crazy. I've got to go make dinner.
All right, well then I'll re-wrap up the episode. And next week, since we've rounded out our series of the economics of discrimination, we are actually going to have one of my favorite podcast hosts on the air, the Ghost Story Guys, Brennan Storrs. For you guys who don't know, I'm a massive podcast horror fiend, and I'm super excited to have him on the show, and he's going to talk about the finances of podcasting. And until then, we will see you guys later.
I think you just pluralized his name, but that's so fucking you. I'll let you off.
Did I just do it? Okay, you know what? I'm sticking with Stores.
Okay. Well, peace out, motherfucker.
Can we end this goddamn episode, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. I know it's me as well. I've got to go cook dinner.
I know, and you keep doing it.
Tired as balls, and I keep going. One more thing. Oh, and yeah, just one more thing. Sorry. Okay. Bye.
Take three. And that wraps up our series of the economics of discrimination. And we will catch you guys next week where we interview one of my favorite podcast hosts, Brennan Storrs of the Ghost Story Guys. And he talks about the business of podcasting. So we'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening. Please check back for upcoming episodes and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Finances, the Other F Word.